Once upon a time, a king chased a silver-antlered stag too far into a vast, ancient forest. When the sun slid behind the trees, he reined in his horse and realized he was utterly lost. "Where am I? Which way leads home?" he whispered. Out from the shadows stepped a tiny old woman with a nodding head and eyes that sparkled like flints. She was a witch, though she smiled as if she were someone's grandmother. "Good evening, my lord king," she croaked. "You look lost." "I am. Can you show me the way out?" "I can," said the witch, "but only on one condition. Take my daughter for your bride and make her queen. If not, these trees will turn you around forever." The king was tired, hungry, and afraid for his people, so he agreed. The witch led him to her cottage, where her daughter sat by the fire. She was beautiful, bright as frost and pale as moonlight, and though she curtsied sweetly, her beauty made the king's heart feel cold. Still, he lifted her onto his horse, and the witch showed him the path home. Soon after, their wedding bells rang, but the king had children from his first marriage, 6 sons and 1 daughter, whom he loved more than life. He feared the new queen's smile, which was too sharp at the corners. So, with the help of a wise woman, he hid the children in a secret castle deep in the woods. The wise woman gave him a ball of enchanted yarn. "Throw it down," she told him, "and it will unwind and lead you safely there." The king visited often. "You are my heart," he told his children. "Stay hidden, stay safe." The queen noticed his long absences. She bribed the servants, and soon she knew of the secret castle and of the magic yarn. With a sly grin, she stole the yarn, and with silver needles she stitched 6 small white silk shirts, each threaded with a spell she had learned from her mother. One day, while the king was away hunting, she followed the unwinding yarn into the forest. She disguised herself in a cloak and pulled up her hood. From the secret castle, the 6 boys saw the figure and cried, "Father!" They ran to her with open arms. In one terrible, magical breath, the queen tossed the shirts over their heads. At once, feathers rippled, bones lightened, and 6 swans leaped to the sky, circling with cries of confusion and sorrow. The queen gathered her cloak, smiled a thin smile, and left, certain she had rid herself of the king's heirs. But the youngest child, the sister, had stayed inside at the window. The queen knew nothing about her, and so the girl was spared. When the king returned to the secret castle, only his daughter ran to greet him. "Where are your brothers?" he asked, his voice shaking. "Father," she whispered, pointing to the open sky. "I saw them, 6 swans, flying away. They dropped these." She showed him a handful of white feathers trembling in her small hands. The king's heart broke. He never guessed his new queen's treachery. Fearing he might also lose his daughter, he begged her to come away with him. But the girl, brave and quick-witted, thought of the queen's cold smile and said, "Let me remain one more night, father, just one." He kissed her brow and left, promising to return at dawn. That very night, the girl packed bread, a needle, and hope. "I must find them. I must set them free," she said, and slipped into the forest. For a day and a night she walked. The forest listened. The wind braided her hair with the scent of pine. At last she found a small hut, with 6 little beds lined up like notes on a song. At sunset, a rush of wings whispered through the window. 6 swans glided in, shook off their feather cloaks like coats, and, where the birds had been, stood her brothers, just as she remembered them, only older and sorrow-touched. "Sister," they cried, "you found us!" The youngest brother hugged her so tightly, she laughed, then clapped a hand over her mouth, remembering the wind can carry news to unfriendly ears. "You must leave," said the eldest. "Robbers live near. We can't protect you." "Can't you?" she said, chin high. "We can only keep our human shapes for a quarter of an hour every evening," another brother explained. "After that, we must become swans again." "Is there a way to break the spell?" she asked. "There is," said the eldest, "but it is nearly impossible." "I don't care," she said. "Tell me." "You must sew 6 shirts from starflowers," the eldest replied, "without speaking a word and without laughing for 6 whole years. 1 word, 1 laugh, and all is lost." The wind paused. A star blinked. The siblings held each other's hands. Then, as the 15th minute ended, feathers rippled back over the brothers, and they flew through the window, 6 white commas stitching the twilight. "I will do it," the girl promised the quiet room. She climbed into a sturdy beech tree deep in the forest and began her work. The night laid a quilt over the world, and the girl plucked starflowers by morning light, pale blossoms shaped like tiny suns, and stitched silently by day. Birds brought her threads, a fox left her a thimble, deer slept beneath her branches. She spoke to no one. She did not even smile when a squirrel tried on a leaf for a hat. Her heart was full of hope, steady as a lantern. Seasons turned their pages. One day, a young king from another land rode hunting through the forest. His huntsman shaded his eyes. "Your Majesty, look, there's someone up in that beech." The king craned his neck. "Who are you, girl? Come down," he called kindly. She did not answer. She only held tight to her basket of starflowers. They brought a ladder and reached up gentle hands. "We won't hurt you," the huntsman promised. "We have sandwiches," he added, trying to be funny. She did not even smile. In the end, they carried her softly to the ground. The king took in her worn dress, her careful hands, the quiet courage in her eyes. "Who are you?" he asked in all the languages he knew. "What were you doing in a tree?" She remained silent. The king's heart bent toward her like a branch in the wind. "You may come with us," he said. "You shall have safety and time. You shall have a home." He gave her fine clothes and a sunny room with a wide window. Still, every day she stitched. "This maiden," he told his court, "I choose for my queen." And so the silent girl became a silent queen. She sewed starflowers in secret and watched the evening sky for 6 white shapes. But the king's mother, the dowager queen, was stern and suspicious. "Who knows where she came from?" she said. "A queen who does not speak? What is she hiding?" Bitter words can splinter even warm rooms. When the young queen bore a baby, the old woman's jealousy woke like a winter storm. While the queen slept, the dowager hid the child away with a nurse in a distant village. Then she dabbed a smear of berry juice at the queen's lips. "See," she whispered to the court, "the queen is too strange. She brings misfortune. The baby is gone." The king would not believe it. "No harm to the queen," he ordered, "none." The silent queen, her heart aching, washed the berry stain away and went quietly on with her sewing. A second child was born. Again the dowager stole the baby away to be kept secret and safe, and again she spread whispering rumors like thistles in the wind. The people shook their heads. "She is too gentle for such wrong," they murmured. "If only she could speak." A third child came. Again the dowager hid the little one and cried out to the court, "The queen is cursed! She loses our heirs!" The king stood between love and fear. The council pressed him. The city buzzed with worry. At last, with sorrow, he decreed, "There must be a public judgment." By then, 6 years had nearly turned. The queen's hands were thin, her eyes bright as stars. She had finished 5 shirts and almost all of the 6th. Only 1 sleeve remained. The day of her judgment dawned cold and clear. She was led to the great courtyard, her arms full of shirts, her face calm. The people gathered, heavy with sadness. The judge lifted his staff. The king stood white with grief. The dowager looked like a winter tree. Just then, a sound like a river of silk swept over the walls. Wings. 6 swans swooped from the sky and landed in a ring around the silent queen. She threw the starflower shirts over them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and feathers fell away like snow. The 6th shirt was missing a sleeve, so when the youngest brother changed back, he kept a swan's wing for a left arm, white and strong and splendid. The spell broke like glass in sunshine. The queen drew a breath she had held for 6 whole years. Her voice rang clear, warm as bread. "My husband, my people," she said, "I am innocent. I vowed 6 years of silence to save my brothers from a cruel enchantment. The dowager hid our children away and painted me as a danger. Look into her hiding places, and you will find them safe." The courtyard was still, as if the whole castle was listening. The king ran to her and caught her hands. "You spoke to save others," he whispered. Guards and midwives were sent riding. Before sunset, they returned with 3 bright-eyed children, rosy and giggling, riding on the nurse's lap. The nurse bowed and told how she had been ordered to keep them hidden. The people cheered until the sky echoed. The king turned to his mother. "Mother," he said, "why?" The dowager wavered. The sharpness left her eyes. She stared at the children and at the young queen who had stood quiet for so long. "I was afraid," she admitted, her voice cracking like old ice. "Afraid to be forgotten. Afraid of change. I did a terrible wrong." "Then you will set it right," said the king, gently but firmly. He stripped her of her power at court. As penance, she was given a simpler home and a simple task.
to tend the royal nursery and care for the children she had hidden and others in need besides. She would spend her days apologizing with actions, reading stories, rocking cradles, and learning the tender work of love. The young queen, who believed in second chances, nodded. "Let it be so," she said. The brothers, free at last, embraced their sister. The youngest flexed his feathered wing and smiled. "I suppose I'll be very good at fanning to fire," he joked, and everyone laughed for the first time in years.
As for the witch in the deep forest and the queen with the cold smile, their power faded with their deed. Forests remember, and so do kings. The king and the true queen ruled with kindness and listening hearts. As for the witch in the deep forest and the queen with the cold smile, their power faded with their deed. Forests remember, and so do kings. The king and the true queen ruled with kindness and listening hearts. In summer, swans floated on the palace lake, and in winter, the youngest prince cut paper snowflakes with his human hand and fanned them into flight with his swan's wing. The three children grew up knowing the sound of a mother's voice and the strength of a promise kept. If you walked by the beech trees at sunset, you could sometimes hear the soft hush of wings and a girl's laughter, long delayed, tumbling out like bells. And so ends the tale of loyalty and patience, of a vow kept and a spell undone. It teaches that love can be brave and quiet, and that forgiveness can turn a hard heart gentle, like frost melting into spring.